Oh, he would call you mommy?
Exactly.
Oh my God.
The mothers are usually taking care of almost all the needs of their children. It's a nice feel. You can't do anything without it.
This
And
is so true here in the US, by the way.
I've seen women telling their husbands in front of other people, that be careful, you spill the coffee.
Even if she's controlling, I don't know that she's controlling. You know what I mean? So it's just very fluid dynamic. So something would set me off sometimes, and I'd learn from that interaction. Say, every relationship problem that you have with your partner, your children, your team members, your parents starts in the same place. It starts with you.
I'm Dr. Sapna Sharma. I've spent 20 years as a relationship and parenting counselor, sitting across from people who are hurting, confused, and looking for answers, but all in the wrong places.
And I'm Raju Panjwani, 2 marriages, loss, rebuilding, and I've spent years coaching senior leaders on what it actually takes to show up consciously at work and at home.
So, here together we are going to have the conversations most people avoid. There's no prescription here, just conversations.
About love, about marriage, heartbreaks, and what it really takes to grow. We hope this strikes a chord with you, and we hope you join us. This is the Relationships and Marriage Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Relationship and Marriage Podcast. I am Dr. Sapna Sharma here from India, and with me is Raju Panjwani from the United States of America. We discuss relationships from as many different perspectives as possible, and we are getting amazing responses, and our DMs are full, wanting to talk to us about all the topics that we've been talking till now. And today we come up with another maybe controversial topic, but nonetheless very interesting, is when the wife becomes the mother of her husband. I can almost hear your smiles as you hear the topic, because I know it's not as uncommon as it seems. And in my counseling practice, I come across this very, very often from complaining wives and defending husbands. So let's talk about that. And I think let's begin with Raju.
Uh-oh.
What are your thoughts, Raju? Where does this dynamic come from?
Well, I mean, you're the expert, right, when it comes to psychological needs of men and women in this case, but I just think it has to come from childhood. I mean, for me, in my first marriage, for instance, and because it was my first encounter with any woman that I was going to be living with anyway, I think for me, I trace it back to my father because he was the authority figure back in the day. He was a typical dad. And I was scared. I was the oldest, so I was scared to death of answering back to him, or even if I felt it, I would never verbalize it. So I'd have to go to my mom. So as I've thought about this, I go, wow, was I marrying my mother? At the end of the day, or that the thing that mothers do, because mom always took care of me, although she didn't fight with my dad either. It was just one of those things that you suppress all your feelings in a way that you cannot communicate. So for me, I think maybe there was a notion, and I don't know this for sure, but it's on reflection as this question came up, and we were preparing for this, and I felt, well, why did I have this? So I believe that, and since my first marriage was arranged, and it was Indian families marry families according to her, and so there was for me, moving to another country was very hard at the beginning. Everything is, got complicated. And then here's a person I never lived with under one roof, is out busy doing her work. And it was just, why does it feel this way? So I thought she would take care of me, in ways that my mom did. So I think that's really what I can say that without offending anybody.
I can definitely relate with that, because in India, children live with their families till the time they're married. And sometimes, many a times, even after the marriage, the boys continue to live with their parents. The mothers are usually taking care of almost all the needs of their children. With the change of time, with the newer generation, with the working mothers, they may not be taking care of all the needs of their children, but then they have house help who's trained to take care of all the needs of the children. So basically, you need socks, you need your shoes, you need to change your clothes, you need to find your slippers. There would be someone, either a mother or a house help, her replacement, doing it for you. So that's
Yeah.
something very common in India, even today.
Common here
Even
too, by the way, for well-to-do and wealthier families here. Even normal couples, I know that the wives tend to say, here's a tie you should wear today, because the man doesn't want to sit there and think about what meeting he's going to and where he's going to
What
be
you're
out.
saying, the side example can be a different one because
Uh-huh.
aesthetically, if the wife is better, that's a
Okay.
different idea, right? Sometimes even I've seen men telling their wives, this goes better with that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But compulsively expecting your wife to do that for the men,
Yeah.
okay, as you are getting ready, they expect that the everything should be kept ready for them at every stage as they move through it. Eventually puts the woman in the, like we were discussing some time back, the being a caregiver is a natural thing, right? Because
Yes.
she has those mothering instincts in her, though
Hmm.
she never wants to become the wife for her husband. If it's a combination like this, a man who's dependent upon someone doing all the things for him, and the woman who's, maybe willing or easy to do all the things for her man, then the combination eventually evolves such. It's almost the woman is bringing up two children, three children. I mean, I've heard that too many number of times. The women coming to
Sure.
for counseling with me, I'm bringing up three children, and the other two are easier because they're mine.
So can I, without sounding like maybe crossing boundaries, but I'm very open, I share myself. But in your marriage, how was that for you? I mean, did you ever reflect back and say, was I being a mother to my husband?
He was a very introverted individual person. Didn't expect a lot to be done for him. But everything in the house needs to be done by you. I'll just get ready, go to work, and come back, and I'll exist.
Done by
Rest you
you.
to
That's
by
the
me.
expectation. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
that the expectation was that I should be taking care of everything else, not him particularly. He
Hmm.
was an independent man who would always do
I
his
see.
own
Okay.
things. Yeah. But I do see it quite often in the Indian families and in marriages. It's
Of
particularly coming up because now that the women are also working, they're not
course.
okay with this. Earlier, when the
Mhm.
women were not working, they were okay about this, most of them, because that was a gesture of love,
Yeah.
right? And women basically, women like to be around their husband when they're at home. It's a natural instinct.
Hmm.
It was nice for them to do small things. In fact, I would also love to do that. But for a working woman, it becomes very difficult. And if it becomes a pattern, if you expect that, whatever is happening, she should be at my beck and call,
Yeah.
that's when the problem starts. But that's not the
Yeah.
only problem. There are many other issues which starts with this whole complicated relationship.
So what are a couple of issues that are common that you see?
Okay, so an husband and wife relationship is supposed to be a relationship of romance,
Hmm.
right? And a mother and child relationship is supposed to be a relationship, or it's a blood relationship. It's a
Yep.
different one. These two relationships have very different connotations,
Hmm. Sure.
right? When this starts happening, a lot of mothering, either the woman is trying to do it or the man is expecting it to do it, whichever it happens. Many a times, what takes toll first is their romantic relationship. Because you need to feel romantic. You can't just be romantic when you reach the bed, right?
Yes.
You need to feel that about the other person, right? And
Mhm.
for that, you need to be two equal people, bringing in everything equal into the marriage. And that thing that happens before going to the bed is very important for a very romantic relationships. So whatever is happening before is not definitely not conducive. I want to share something very interesting. So you live in a joint family in India. I'm sure that these things are changing now, but when I got married, it was a love marriage and we addressed each other by our names. But when I was getting married, my mother-in-law told me that no, you can't call him by his name now. Okay, because now he's your husband, so you can't address him by his name. Now that was a big thing. How do you address him? Okay, so always addressing him was a very awkward thing in the presence of them. It was always an awkward thing.
Yeah, I
What
know.
made this awkwardness easy is when the children came along. When the first child came, he became Papa and I became Mommy. Now you understand the relationship, how it changes. Okay. I am Mummy for him. I am Mummy for my child.
Oh, he would call you mommy?
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Because
Well,
that
that
just
happens. That happens
right,
in
and that
European culture.
I experienced it, and then I saw it in many families. Start
Uh-huh.
calling each other Mummy and Papa, and then the whole dynamics changes.
It's not like you're telling your child, go to Papa, or he's saying, go to mommy. He's addressing you as
Yeah,
mommy and Papa.
when he would call me, he would always call me Mummy, and I would call him Papa.
Yeah.
Because that was just to overcome the awkwardness that the family had created by telling us you can't call him by name.
That's a strange concept here for sure. You don't do that. But you have the sweetheart, honey, darling. Those are very common. instead
Yeah.
of calling my name.
So
You
you
only call
don't,
the person by name when you're upset about something.
in India, in front of your in-laws, in the presence of other relatives, you don't address your husband or wife of as anything endearing.
That's correct.
Nothing
I
at
know
all.
that for a fact.
Right? The younger generation, they address by name. They are pretty
Yeah.
okay about it. We were not, because we were taught to be afraid of our in-laws. The respect had to come through fear also. So you don't do what you're told not to do, but then other things start as complications there.
Wow.
So this whole thing, it's very complicated. And then
Yeah.
what do you expect? Anyway, you are living in a joint family, you don't have space.
In that dynamic, also, like, what's the mother? How does a woman step into the mother role? Is it out of habit, trying to control, or is it just need to feel needed, so she does that?
Either way, it can be either of the two things. It can be the woman wanting to fill up her needs because that's how she feels relevant, that's how she feels needed.
And how does that show up in that relationship for the husband?
Basically, trying to tell him everything, how things need to be done, and
Ah,
doing everything for him. Doing every small thing for him. These are your clothes, this is your handkerchief, and this is your briefcase, and this is your this, and this is your this, and this
yeah.
is the, did you eat this, did you eat that, did you eat that, did you do this, did you do that, how a mother would do. Did you eat well? And this usually happens when the wife is not working woman,
Yeah.
from the woman's
I
side,
can,
because she's not
I
feeling
can think that,
worthy.
like, hey, what's for dinner, mom? And like, what's for dinner, honey? It's just like saying, there's a man dynamic.
Exactly. So for a woman, basically, if she's not working, she's not feeling very needed, wanted, relevant, she would try a lot to make herself relevant to the husband, by being. And then I've heard women saying, he can't do anything without me. It's a nice feel. He can't do anything without me. And
This is so true here in the US, by the way. Very true, this dynamic. Forget about the first names and all, but I'm saying the fact that if you're a homemaker and you're a woman, it's very prevalent even today. I mean, I met somebody last year and it was just insane dynamic that he cannot do anything without me. I'm this. So she is the mother. She's a mother to 4 children, but
absolutely.
this comes up a lot. So I think it's very true.
So for a woman, this is how that might be the need. For a man, like I said, that number one, if his mother has been doing everything for him till the time he got married, that is what he expects from any other woman in his life. If it's a mother, not if not the mother, then the sister. If not the sister, then the wife. Someone else who would be doing.
Obviously, if the woman becomes that naturally without thinking that she's the mother to her husband, right? Does that automatically translate into the intimacy, the romanticness, or whatever? Feels different? Does it feel like it's like a parent-child relationship in a way?
Sometimes yes, or sometime into the marriage yes, but that depends upon how much aware the couple is.
Well, I'm
Um,
saying, what do you see in terms of, people like that in your world that act
no,
that way
no,
or
no rules, no rules.
no?
No rules. If you extend it too much into the bedroom also,
Oh, then it will
then it
be
might be
a
a problem.
problem.
I have even heard about women instructing the men about lovemaking also.
Oh, wow.
So
All right. Maybe we won't go there here, but wow. So let's call it, is there an early warning type of system that you can, at least in these situations that happens, so that you don't go into the danger? What will be an indicator in a situation if that's the case and people don't, like, I wasn't aware in my second marriage that, Kim was trying to be my mother, for example, but it's just, was that just a different person, or was it that I kind of understood, having gone through the first one, that how this works? How do you recognize, what indication would I have? I mean, if I'm not self-aware, how do I recognize that there is a problem in this as a man, and also for the woman, depending on the awareness? But let's say they're both not, they're unconscious, but how does it manifest? Like,
so the
we have a
whole thing
problem.
is that if you're not aware, even if you're told by someone, it's difficult to accept.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So many marriages they do go along with the same thing also. They don't even recognize it. Right. But if one of the partner is unhappy about it,
Mhm.
that's the first sign, right?
So the early
That
warning signs are that, like when you start to see that something isn't working, you may not identify it as or name it as the mothering issue, but it may be there until, so unless you talk to somebody, it won't be discovered, right?
yeah, if the woman is, she's complaining of exhaustion all the time, one of the partners is feeling the loss of intimacy. If they feel that, the I'm treated like the children,
Yeah.
given instructions and told me this is not good. I've seen women telling their husbands in front of other people, that be careful, you'll spill the coffee. That's how they
Yeah.
talk to their children. That's how they talk to their husbands also.
Wow. It's not uncommon. I've seen that
Yeah,
many places. People just go, "What are you doing? Careful here!" Like, yeah, he's not a child. Yeah.
exactly. These are the very intricate things, It's very difficult to understand where to break the pattern and how does one thing end and another thing
Yes.
begin. But I guess the only sign can be if one of the partner is really exhausted by doing too much for the other partner, or maybe you're feeling the loss of intimacy, or you're feeling that, you're feeling too much pressurized by the continuous instructions being given, or
Mhm.
corrected in front of other people like the children. So if either of the partners realizes this, that can be the beginning where change can happen, but requires a lot of awareness and understanding of this. But I guess if both the partners are okay with it,
Then
that's a,
that's where
there,
they're
there's
headed.
no, yeah, there's no rule that it is a good marriage or what is a bad marriage. So this one
Sure.
can still continue, right? So in your marriage, did you have the awareness of this while going through the first marriage, or after the first marriage was over, when you were entering the second marriage? Any of these time?
No, I think, as I said earlier on first, I don't, when this topic came up, is when I was reflecting and saying, well, did I ever feel like, like I was being mothered? I would say, now that the question has come up, I would say, yeah, there are times when I felt that was the expectation or that she would do that. But it came, somehow I linked it bringing with my father and therefore how my mother sort of helped me to be on my side without saying it out loud. So all the work I do is actually very embedded in me about my mother. So because I feel like no one should feel oppressed or feel their emotions or their views are suppressed. This shouldn't never be the case. And I think it was. So my parenting style for my children has been let go. I don't really want to tell them what to do. Yes, there is, of course, there is the yeah, the idea of structure, discipline, where you go. So now as they grow older, I'm only looking to give advice if I'm asked. Otherwise, I don't. I let them make their own mistakes. But in the second marriage, I don't know that I felt that, but I think the awareness is always there for me that not about the mother stuff, but because we felt equal on a mission
Mhm.
for our life. So I felt really good about that. Yes, of course, there are ups and downs and arguments, and we. But
So
then she would say,
I
that's an
have
interesting point.
seen then that starting the first marriage with an Indian mindset and starting the second marriage with an American mindset, did that make a difference about this equal thing?
I don't know that that is the case. I think Kim was extremely not this I'm the empowered woman, ERA type. No. And we had our 5 or 6 year stint in India. She lived with me, but she was also doing her PhD in intercultural communication. So she was sort of an expert on studying behaviors and cultural overlays. So I think she was so much more Indian than I've ever met any other Indian woman. I don't mean that Indian, but
Yeah, I get that.
in the heart, she was always like, and that's why she thrived in, socially and otherwise in India. And because she understood people really well, culture or no culture. That made me more aware, like, oh, so she was not controlling. Even if she's controlling, I don't know that she's controlling. You know what I mean? So it's just very fluid dynamic. So something would set me off sometimes, and I'd learn from that interaction, say, like, so what did I do wrong? Like, why was I being offensive? So one of the I guess I wasn't diplomatic and she was. And I say, why do I have to be not direct and honest? She goes, you can be, but then you're offending people around you, including me. Including me? Yeah, yeah, including me. So you just take a breath and go, you better not say things that are clearly offensive to anyone. So do you love this person or do you not love this person? So I think unconscious habit versus being aware. Yeah, I think it was there were all kinds of things. And I, of course, when I met her parents, I realized she gets it from there. They are just incredibly soulful, very with it. I'm not talking about any perfection. I never heard her mother get angry with her or anybody for that matter. She's
Mm.
94. It's just a crazy, I don't think it has anything to do with American or Indian. It just means that just a person's so aware. And the family must have been so aware with their three
No,
daughters.
but
So,
what about you? You
pardon
were
me?
the common factor in the two marriages,
Yes, of course.
right? So you getting into marriage in an Indian mindset and in an American mindset. To you, was it different?
At that point, I had been here 18, 20 years, so I was actually actively not wanting to be identified as Indian because you had to blend in the society and work, etc. So I felt, I wasn't really Indian. Yes, of course I'm Indian. I'm never, never going to deny that. But the mindset of Indian, as you say, must enter into it, and without awareness. So initially, it was like, oh, how can I live with this person? She's so different, and she's American and all that. I think it worked really well. And I think sometimes the contrasts are also very
I guess we're
wonderful.
missing the question again. You entering one marriage with an Indian mentality. That was your first marriage.
Yeah,
Indian setup,
correct.
Indian expectation, Indian mentality. Then entering the second marriage, American mentality. Like you said, that you had almost blended in that period
Yeah.
of time, right? So, what you brought into the marriages, the expectations from the spouse, and all of those things, were they different in the two?
Oh, I would say very different because I had learned so much from the first that, you want to be giving in a relationship, not taking,
But
because
again,
I felt you.
the difference between starting as an Indian male expecting from the wife and the American male expecting from the wife.
The expectations go away because you don't want to have unnecessary expectations because I was very clear that how I was there was not very helpful or healthy for me. It was zero communication in the first marriage, pretty much. So in this relationship, it was a lot of communication. So the question about cultures automatically came up because she was an interculturalist.
Expectations,
So
your expectations from wife in the first marriage and the second marriage.
I cannot deny there were a lot more expectations in my first marriage that I had, and I had fewer expectations, whatever they might be in this case. That's the answer, I think.
Yeah, I was looking for, because I believe that the Indian men expect more from their wives because they still look at the wife as the person who will be doing everything, and the man is only supposed to go out and earn and get back. So everything else has to be done by the wife. That's the Indian mentality of men, and especially we are talking back then when you got married, is more of it. Everything was the wife's responsibility. Second time you were an American man, everything changed.
So I think that's kind of what I'm implying by saying all that. But interesting, the first marriage, because she worked 100 hours a week, during her residency as a doctor, frankly, I did all the work for cooking, etc. So I had to learn that on my own. I'm not going to say the hard way because I had to eat and we didn't have any kind of money to go out. So to
So
me, she did
you became
not
an American husband very soon.
very quickly. So for me, I learned that everything had to be done myself. So I walked into this marriage. Kim didn't do any of the, she didn't like any of the chores. She didn't cook. So I was a ready-made husband for her with as
Nice. So
many
let's
things
say
as
you
I
were
could
being prepared for this second marriage by being the first marriage.
do, I
Mm,
suppose. But
yeah.
it's a life is happening. So you just
So it was
respond to life. Okay.
unmothering for you in the first marriage.
Yes.
Made you
Sorry.
independent and a catch husband.
I mean, I had to do it because I had no choice in the matter because she was not there physically. It was very hard. Yeah. Okay. So, what are some of the takeaways today that people can ponder in their own life?
I guess we all need to individually become aware about what kind of relationship we have with our spouse. And whatever you have doesn't mean that there's good or bad about it, right? We're just talking
Mhm.
about that these all things are existing. And sometimes, or many a times, when we are not aware of them, if there are some issues with our marriage relationships, we don't know why it is happening because we're not really aware of what's happening beneath the surface, what feels natural to us, but that might itself be the precursor of the problems that we are facing today.
Mhm.
So, when we are talking about all these topics which are different but very much a part of our life, it's basically to bring up that awareness,
Yes. So,
right?
awareness is always the entry point, right? For all of our episodes, you'll see.
We're just
Yeah.
speaking, we are just talking, we're just expressing what's coming to our mind, what we have heard, what we have seen, and what people share with us. And we
Mhm.
just put it out there so that maybe, one couple feels that, oh, this is what is happening with my marriage. I didn't realize this. I guess that's what we are looking for. And for everyone else, it's an awareness. All these kinds of things happen. I guess we can leave a message for the parents here who are bringing up sons and daughters. Daughters, I guess, they're bringing up very well, telling them not to do anything for anyone. Come on. That's the undercurrent of women's empowerment. But sons, we have to make them independent and not to be dependent upon anyone for
Mhm.
anything. That is a very, very important factor that parents need to take care of.
Yes. So I guess it starts before the marriage. So, right? So the dynamic
Absolutely.
with your spouse is largely built on what you saw growing up, or how you brought up. So I think that bringing up the children is an important point. So that's the awareness. You got the how you bring up the children. The third is, from what I see, nobody decides to be mothered, right? Or being mothered. mothered or to be the mother. So the wife is not saying I'm going to be the mother or vice versa. But it sort of happens quietly, unless
Exactly.
you're doing unspoken things and you do stuff that's not going to be because you're avoiding conversations. I think that's kind of what I'm hearing.
Exactly.
So
Know what is happening in your marriage, how is it going, and if there are some issues, can there be something else happening beneath the surface, and that can be a place where you can start working on it.
really. So
And
as you can see, we were talking about real issues here. I couldn't answer the question I was being asked because maybe I
yeah,
didn't understand it.
so that is
But
what
yeah,
we all try to see, that okay, this is not relevant to me, this is not relevant to me, this is how this is happening, you're talking about somewhere else, and that's so
that's
much
right.
easier. That's so much
Yeah, I
easier
mean, it's
to
okay.
think of someone else
That's
who
right.
needs
So
this.
this is how we are sometimes. Like, well, what do you mean by that? And how does that work? So it's okay to ask the questions and say, okay, until you get where you're going with it. So
Absolutely.
this is a
Try
pre-flow.
asking your mother. Try. I mean, it's a good idea to try asking your partner that, "Am I mothering you? Do you feel that sometimes?" That might be interesting to know.
Yeah, that may be a start of a conversation that maybe you've never opened
Yeah.
before. So you can see we move with a flow here, but these come from real life situations, and Sapna brought up a few of her experiences and also what her people are bringing to the table, and how we get DMs and we get, hey, can you talk about this subject? So this one was identified in one of those as well. So well, if there's a subject you want to address, please write to us. We look at every DM and we certainly will do everything in our power to bring those issues up here. Any other closing words from you, Sapna?
Do write to us. Tell us what do you want us to speak about. Do tell us what you don't like about us, and we would also like to know that. We are always looking forward.
Shave your beard. Get rid of it.
We are
That's
always
okay.
looking forward to hear from you, and eager to see you again next week. Have a great week.
Bye-bye. If something in today's conversation stayed with you, well, sit with it. That discomfort is telling you something worth listening to.
Before thinking of who needs to hear this and who needs to change, try to introspect. We read every comment and message and reply them personally. Tell us what come up for you.
And if someone in your life actually does need to hear this, send it to them. That might be the most important thing you do today.
Subscribe so that you never miss a conversation. See
See
you
you
in
in
the
the
next
next
episode.
episode.